No?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, all set.
Okay, we're starting at 7:05. Rob Taylor is out of the room at the moment. I'm your chair, Mike Dean, and I'm going to seat Bob Cusick as a voting member for this hearing. Celia Alfiero is our other alternate board member, and she's on the phone tonight. We don't need her at the moment. Susan Brown told us she'd be present, but she hasn't made it yet. That's okay. So attending tonight, we have Mr. Cusick, we have Bill Finger, Dan Regan, Madeline Johnson, and I, Mike Dean. Our first applicant in hearing will be Brian Degnan. Before he starts, I'll tell you that the special exception application we were going to hear about Laramie Farms has been postponed until our, what are we in October? Until our November meeting.
Rob, can I have the documents?
I have one other note of caution for us in general as a board. Celia, I hope you're hearing this also. Since Laramie Farms is likely to be contentious, and it's entirely likely that we will wind up in court no matter what we decide on the various hearings they bring before us. Our lawyer has cautioned us that we, as members of the ZBA, are meant to come into a hearing with no preformed conclusions or ideas about the subject matter of a hearing. And we must not only not have those when we come in order to be fair to the client, but we must not appear to have formed such opinions, which to my way of thinking means if I go to another town meeting or some hearing about a Laramie Farms topic, I want to be really careful not to participate in the discussion, not to be seen to participate in the discussion. And if I'm asked for my opinion, I might decline politely, saying I'm a member of the ZBA. I shouldn't be participating in this discussion. That's just so that you're fair to your clients, number one, and number two, we don't give an opposition lawyer in an appeal grounds for saying that our decision was arbitrary or incorrect because we had come to the matter with preformed opinions. Preformed opinions? I don't know. I think you get my point.
Mike, does that apply to say something where there's a question here and I go and like read about it to understand, I don't know, supposing there is a question about something random, sewage, and I'm like, well, how does that work? I mean, am I allowed to inform myself on sort of technical matters, or does this just refer to within that things that might touch on that case?
I think learning about background, the technical matters, informing yourself is the responsible thing to do.
Okay. Well,
I think you need to do that. I think you must work to refrain from forming an opinion about the case that's coming before you.
Got it.
So if they're asking for a special exception to put up a cell tower somewhere, I'm picking something that they probably aren't going to do. You gotta work hard to stay neutral on that topic. Okay. And you really want to avoid making any statements about an opinion in public or to anybody that might get it public.
But has the board already voted? And the opinions of everybody are a matter of public record.
On a settled matter, yes. But I'm talking about for the future.
Yeah, so you're talking about the next exemption that they come in for, not on the previous matter that was discussed.
Correct.
And
That's what I'm cautioning us about.
okay,
As we approach a matter,
yeah.
we must not be seen to have formed an opinion before the hearing. We must reserve our opinion formation until after we've been presented with the application and the evidence at a public meeting. And then we can deliberate it and then we form our opinion. Okay. Rob, if you'd be so kind, will you read the notice for the one hearing that we're going to have tonight?
Yes, indeed. One sec. This is what it's referring to. It doesn't answer your question.
Yeah.
I gave out all my agendas. I'm just pulling it up online. Don't worry.
You want me to
Well,
read it?
I've got it.
Got it?
You can have this one. I don't need it. It was more than a minute that I wrote
Sorry.
down some stuff.
An extra copy. All right, so this is Enfield Lane, use case Z 24-10-01. Enfield Property Holdings LLC, Ryan Degden has applied for a special exception to the Enfield zoning orders per section 403:4-A to operate a wholesale business. A variance is also requested from section 408.2 signs to allow for additional signage at the rear of the property along the Northern Rail Trail. Subject property is at 59 Main Street, tax map 31, lot 34, and is 0.22 acres. It is located within the Community Business or CB zoning district and is owned by Enfield Property Holdings LLC. Why don't you come on up, Ryan? You can sit at one of these chairs right over here.
So I'm gonna separate these and we'll hear, you can do one presentation, Brian.
Is there not three of them, or the first one goes together? I cover a lot, I will do the presentation. And
Yeah, you do one,
So,
then we're gonna
uh,
separate these into
so,
into different matters.
Yeah, so let's first talk about the thing that gets us operating. So as you know, there's a formal laundromat. We went to the front of the planning board with Optimistic and Dan Thomas. He cannot be here today. He has a new kid.
Optimistic.
Brewery, that's the, Optimistic is the company which I am trying to facilitate to get into the building. They make beer.
You own the building
I own the building.
and Optimistic wants to make beer in your building.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, and so in doing so, it is a commercial property, but we came across, the planning board approved the use, and it came back to the fact that they were not allowed to give us permission for wholesaling, because basically they want to make the beer there and then as their license, so everything is kind of rigid by the state license, make the beer and then have a tasting room. But in doing so, that also involves bottling beer. So that is part of the whole wholesaling thing. But combined with that, due to the insurance people, it also technically comes under light manufacturing, i.e. wholesaling is the selling of the beer, and like the light manufacturing is like putting the beer into a bottle to thereby sell, or apparently, and that one was clear on, the putting in a keg and then selling on site, that seems to be a grayer area. I could not, sadly, I asked my lawyers on this and they kind of laughed at me because they're not really in this field. But you can't really run a business without insurance. And so the insurance companies want to see that, that wholesaling was okay, because if we're planning on selling something, and they also want to make sure that the act is okay of like making it into a bottle. So that was why on the cover letter I mentioned light manufacturing, because that's what the insurance companies think it is.
What is your third?
Oh, the third item is, so downtown,
Sign.
the sign. Since you don't have to have, so there's actually parking in front of the former laundry, right? We have 10 spots.
Yeah.
Or more, but there's also actually ample parking downtown. And the thing is about the rail trail is most people who have coming in, if you want to make a destination, haven't been on the rail trail. So what I was hoping to do is have,
I was wondering why you needed a sign back there.
Right. Because so previously when I looked at it, behind Whitney Hall, there's spots. At the end of Depot Street, there's spots all over. But how do you know where you're going?
So you want a sign on the back of the building facing the rail trail so that when people come down the rail trail from those parking spots, they can identify the destination.
That was kind of the plan. And
What's the signage? What's the sign ordinance blocking you?
the fact it has to be on the front.
Yeah, so he's gonna use up there's a square footage thing, he'll use it up with the signage on the front towards the street, so. He would feel more comfortable having the ability to put some signage on the back.
I'm not,
Essentially.
if you've seen what I've done, I painted the place, I tried to make it look good. These are not going to be big signs, but I just want to make sure that you can find where you're going, because it's just like trying to, it's an easier way to deal with the whole parking thing when you have a sign on the front and you have a sign on the back.
Sure. Conceptually, I have no problem with it. I don't think
No, to me,
I
it
think any of
seems
us-
like it.
we probably want to see it be as small as
Oh, were we
Reasonable.
gonna separate the things before we started discussing?
Yeah,
yeah,
these,
thank you.
the goal, we're going, I mean, I hate to, I'm asking for something and we can talk about what you would approve, and we can just do that. I'm going for tasteful and practical, not,
Neon.
neon. It's just, how does one get, it's like, yeah, go to the building and that has, you know, the heating units up high, like the mini splits, and that's the one, that's not very, very, useful. So when I first did it, the laundry used to have a sign in the front and a sign over the parking lot. I actually added a third down light in the back, mostly because I wanted to say what that building was, coming through Rail Trail, but also my plan is to put like, I have this cool little wooden router and put like this way to this and this way to that, so you can find it. One of the things coming from not spending a lot of time in the United States is it's easier to find stuff. Please, people that walk everywhere, right? And before GPS always had like these little signs around so I could find things. So I'm kind of chuffed by those. So they give me joy. So that's kind of like the long-term plan. I do things for joy, such as try to facilitate a brewery because it gives me joy.
All right, let's deal with the sign first. Then we can talk about the next matter that comes up naturally from that. So before we get started, let's look at the ordinance that you need a variance from, a section of that ordinance.
408.2.
406. Surprise, surprise. 408C.
Two.
Should be a CB
Oh, okay.
and CI
408.2.
for district signs.
One sign attached to a building. Wait, any sign permitted above, in the above paragraphs is permitted, also permitted. Okay, so going back up to 408(1)A, you can have a sign up to 5 square feet. You can have a sign up to 12 square feet. Cannot be located nearer than 12 feet to the right of way or lot line.
That's the church. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading all the ones above because it says you can have everything above as, and
If you're one of those things,
nope.
yes,
Any sign permitted in the above paragraphs is permitted,
Yeah.
also permitted.
permitted, as in like if you're a church.
Okay, I'll go with that. But I don't, that's not how I would read it. I would say, starting at 408, the first bit there's the home occupations or other approved uses or other approved uses are permitted one freestanding or building mounted sign per lot that conforms to the following spec, not to exceed 5 square feet. Solely announces the name, address, and profession of the premises on which the sign is located. So you can have that by right. Churches and institutional buildings are also permitted. Bling, bling, that's not you. Nonprofit orgs may also, that's not you. I see what you're saying, Bill. I think you're saying slow down and read.
I'm just saying, these things that could be in the R1, R3, and R5
Right.
districts could also be in the CB and CI districts, and so that's why, anyway,
No,
that's why.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hey, Susan. We've already got, Mr. Cusick sitting for this hearing. No,
I can't get past you.
Can you
I
get,
mean, I can get out of your way.
you get past me?
There you go.
I'm sorry, I've got sinusitis.
Covered. If you want to go home and take care of yourself, we're okay.
Now you got me out here, here I am.
We need to get you out here. Man.
Robert,
I called.
Oh, okay.
Robert called. I'm here,
Okay,
I am prepared, I am sorry.
okay, you can have one sign attached to a building not exceeding a total area of 1 square foot for each foot of the building frontage upon a right of way or highway. The rail trail is a right of way. FYI. The area of the sign shall not exceed 40 square feet. Non-illuminated sign. Provided is located at principal entrance. Those tenants should not exceed. I think that without any permission from us, you can have your sign out front plus another sign in the back facing the rail trail.
Where do you see that?
Um, if you make that be a freestanding sign,
So that's, when you say freestanding, that is,
sandwich board.
yeah, that's the thing is I want it mounted on building.
I still don't see any problem with that.
So it's funny, there's one of the problems I have with the zoning. So I read a lot of technical things, like,
Mhm.
hell, I understand quantum mechanics. I cannot get through our zoning. So I'm
Not
just
real clear.
Yeah, so this is part of the reason I'm here is I would rather have it,
There, we're doing the sign.
have it be addressed and you guys say, okay, and this is, and then I don't have to worry about someone calling in the zoning enforcement. So
All right, so what's your plan for the front of the building?
so the front of the building is just going to, I believe, say optimistic, and it's just going to be a wooden, so there's these two downlights.
What square footage is
uh,
really the important part.
Because that's, as a guy who thinks in meters, that's a great question. So give me a second to think.
He's Mr. Metric.
Yeah,
What's your square meters?
well, it's basically, I believe the distance, if I had to guess, the thing would be under 20 square feet. Because I'm thinking.
What are the
What is a foot? What is a foot? Okay, basically, how I imagined it, it was 40 centimeters high, which is about this.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And the typeset letters are 20 centimeters. So I was trying to do optimistic in my head.
So okay, so,
So that's 16 inches.
right,
40
so
centimeters,
what's,
16
okay,
inches
so it's, the dimensions of the sign are 40 centimeters by what?
Well, so I think 40 centimeters, so one second. Basically a little over 2.6 meters.
Okay. So that would be what, 40 times
260
260?
Under 2 inches.
And just do whatever.
Brian, is the front of the building facing the street or the parking lot?
The street.
So it's long.
It is, it's, again, you guys are gonna have,
70 something?
yes, 70 feet, I believe I was told.
Yeah,
So I think, Mike, the problem is he's permitted one sign attached to the building. Correct.
Yeah, so that's how I read it, is I could have one sign, and I'd like to have like,
So the square footage, I mean, as long as he doesn't exceed the 40, which I don't think he's anywhere near the way he's describing it. But to be able to have an additional sign on the back
Oh, yeah.
attached to the building, this is why he's here.
No, wait, so we said it's 40
Yeah.
by 260 centimeters, which makes it,
Sounds like it's like 6 by 1.5, so it's gonna
Yeah.
be like 8, 9.
So it's 6 feet by 1.5.
2.6 meters,
I feel
basically.
it's less than, it's not going to be huge.
It's 1.5 by 9 feet.
Yeah.
Roughly.
That seems tiny.
9 feet.
Yeah.
Well, that's the.
1.5 is like,
1.5 tall.
Yeah, that's how their font is right now. But I mean, if I know it's, this
The
is,
sign out front.
yeah. It's like.
The point, what I'm trying to get at is, are we looking, do you have space left over in your allowance?
Lots. I
Right,
believe.
you have lots.
But that's the problem with the way that the zoning ordinance is, it says one sign, not.
yeah.
Multiple
not- you don't
signs,
put it
not to
totally-
exceed
you're gonna have
40
20 signs of 5 inches of.
Yeah.
I mean,
display.
And I don't think we want a 30 square foot sign on the rail trail.
No,
You guys could also make a condition that the sign that you're gonna approve, if you want to,
So the
is
sign,
this size.
the sign on the back, the area on the back is under a single light. It is.
So what are the American dimensions of that sign?
just do the same thing.
The thing is, it's a 6, basic on the back, so the front, there's 2 lights. Down lights, on the back, there's a single one, and it is where basically a window used to be back when it was a grain room. Like this area, so it's not very large, so I'm gonna say it's not more than like, before you hit something, 6 feet wide, like.
So it's 6
Is
feet.
this assuming this is by something-ish that I hadn't really thought through,
feet.
but it's not going to be a very prominent thing. It's mostly for pedestrians.
I think you've still got it. If you look at 4082B, I think the purpose of that section right there is to allow the owner of a building to mark like the rear entrance or the side entrance for the tenants.
It actually specifically says the principal entrance.
It says the principal entrance or access to such rented areas Yeah, I see where it says the principal entrance, but it also says or access to such rented areas. So if he puts a sign on the back directing staff, the tenants of this company, I love the name, but I've forgotten it.
It's
Optimistic.
optimistic.
Optimistic. You know, if he has a sign up there that helps the staff of Optimistic find it when they are parked far away and they come along the rail trail, I think
If
that's
staff
totally
can't find
legitimate.
where they were without a sign.
Maybe we're doing too much beer.
It's a direct,
It's
it's
a
a,
potential customer.
So based on your application, what I've heard so far, I'm favorably inclined. But I think what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to nail down how big these signs are. And I think the approval would be contingent upon.
Well,
Sticking to those
this is different from what I just heard. If I just heard there's like a total square footage, I would be, or rather you guys say don't exceed that. Like I don't need a 70, we're 70 square foot thing on the front.
40 square.
Maximum.
Yeah, I don't need that on the front and the back. I just need.
I don't think you need anything from us except for a clarification of what we think the zoning ordinance says. And my opinion, you guys, is don't talk to us about the front. You stay within 40 square feet. You're fine. You're gonna have to use English units. I know it's distasteful.
Yeah.
And as far as marking the building, you know, with essentially directional symbols that are not meant for advertising, that are meant to guide the tenants to the building.
Yeah.
You know, you might like say optimistic on the back of the building with an arrow pointing to the main entrance. I think that's totally legit and within the scope of the ordinance.
The only thing I'm confused about is that you said you wanted directional signs to
Well,
tell people where
well,
they,
so-
like, I frankly,
so-
Brian, I would have felt much more comfortable about this if you'd come with a much more clear plan, so we'd know what we're talking about. I think this is not
I was telling you
very
why.
helpful.
Okay, well, I was just telling you why I put the light in the back. So, I mean, the reason is that it was just like a nice thing to have. Like, how do you find where one goes? I used to spend a lot of time at the laundry directing traffic. When I was working down there, I'd tell people where to go. So,
Okay, this is all fine, but you see, my point is, you have told us you're going to have we're coming here for one sign, but in your conversation, you have mentioned various signs with various functions. You've talked about
Okay.
things showing where things are.
so I'm going to redact all this and say, I want one sign on the back so the people can find it.
And I don't think you need to be here for that. 404.4 exempted signs. Section C says legal notices, identification, information, or directional signs erected as required by governmental authorities. That won't help you.
Yeah, that's like an exit sign or something like that.
Yeah, Mike, I respectfully disagree. I think he does have to be here. I think he's allowed one sign.
Yeah, I concur.
And so I think that the best path forward would be for Brian to describe to us exactly what he wants. I agree with Madeline. A plan would have been better. Brian, let me finish.
I agree.
So if you could tell us exactly what you want,
I
and
do
then we
not
can all
know.
say,
Well, that's what
Yeah.
graphic designers are for.
I know, but.
Go home, design it, come
Go
back.
design it and come back, so we know what
I'm
we're
not gonna,
talking
well,
about.
okay, so I'm just not going to do this then. So I literally came here to talk to you because I want to get this project off the ground. So with my travel, it's not going to happen.
But you may have misread what the board is for. We are not a consulting body.
I know.
So
So,
if you bring us a specific thing that you want an exemption for, a variance for, we can do that. We can help you generate ideas about how to fit your,
That's when you go and
Yeah.
talk to Rob and say, what can I do?
well, the discussion was basically, this is very vague. And I was trying to have a clarification. So the clarification I got is that, indeed, after like hearing all this and you guys going through the zoning, it seems like the sign on the front is fine, up to 40 square feet.
40 square feet.
right, that's what's in the.
Yeah, and
ordinance.
the sign and you said, and then there's some disagreement, that the sign on the back would require.
I don't think that you should be saying to us, this is what I have understood, and acting as if we have given you some sort of advice or some sort of clearance. It seems to me you need to come to us with a proposal and say, this is what I want, may I do it or not? Because otherwise, if something happens and, some other citizen complains and you say, well, I came and talked about it and then they said it was fine. I don't,
15 measure.
I have trouble knowing
don't need
like
to take that.
what
No, thank
I'm just thinking if.
how I'm going to say what it is that you're allowed to have,
That's not
since
the
I
issue.
don't know what you're
That's not the
asking
issue.
for.
That's
He's
not
gonna
the
give
issue.
us the.
And it's not our job
That's-
to prescribe to people what they can do. Somebody comes to us and says, can I put a deck here? We say yes or no. We don't say, yeah, but you can put this. We've had this issue before in other situations. Our job is not to tell you that. Our job is to give you approval for something. And I think you should come back with a clear plan and some measurements so that we can make an intelligent decision that holds up, not only in this case, but in future cases.
I don't think the board is willing to collaborate with you on the design of your sign.
I am not interested in the board collaborating with the design sign.
I think the consensus is, well, I think at least Madeline and I feel that that's what you are essentially asking us to do.
I
Help
want
you
to,
design it.
I just want I want the clarification. So
But
you,
we don't give clarifications.
On the
We
zoning.
give decisions. We give decisions on a specific case. We're not here to give clarifications.
Can
Am
we,
I understanding this correctly?
let's take some of the heat out of the discussion, maybe take a moment, step back just a moment,
Okay.
if we could. I would be happy to propose to the board that we go to our lawyer and get some clarification on the meanings of the ordinance. And share that information with you so that you can plan accordingly. I don't think the ordinance is terribly vague. I think we just haven't studied this particular section in detail.
well, I will come back after it's open.
Sure.
So that will just be, it'll be, so the tentatively, we're trying to, we're hoping to have it all open by May 1st. But by the way, that's just,
Good for you.
yeah, well, I'm not involved. I'm just facilitating it, I'm not the
Yeah.
company. So I can come back, but I just can't come back till, I'm just gone a lot. This is why I'm no longer a member of the zoning board, right? It's because sadly, all of my meetings happen on the 2nd.
Well, you do as you like. We can dismiss this article of the application without prejudice. You can come back at another time.
Yeah,
About
that
this.
seems like that'd be the best, because then I can give you exactly what it will look like.
Mike, can I
Yeah, there you go.
speak for a second? Can I say something?
Certainly.
Brian, I can't speak for everybody around the board. I'll only speak for myself. I'm excited about the possibility of this business opening. I want to make sure that we're not causing impediments for it to open, but you have to take some responsibility as well. I don't want you to wait until May 1st. That's crazy. You're not gonna have a sign until after the place is open.
We'll have a sign on the front, just down on the rail trail.
And I'd like to see you have it on the rail trail too. And we're not asking for a lot. You don't need to go to a designer. You can scratch something out on a piece of paper. And it comes back and all it has to say is, the sign is gonna look pretty much like this. It's gonna be 1.5 feet by 6 feet. It's gonna say optimistic, that's the front. The back is going to say, boom, boom, boom. It's going to be 3 feet by 3 feet. That's all you have to do, man.
Hmm.
And you.
Yeah, I mean, by then they will probably have a plan. So, I said, I'm basically the building and the money. I'm just trying to make
So
it,
the
so
message-
I will let them,
If that's what you choose to do, the message I'd ask you to take back to them is that the zoning board is here to work with you. They're not here to cause impediments. We really want to be pro-business. So I can only speak for myself, want to be pro-business. So we want to make this easy. We're not trying to make
Yeah.
it difficult.
anyway, so I would like to request, as you say, just the sign thing can go and sit fallow until I bring it back.
We call it dismissing without prejudice. And that means that you can come back in some
Do you
future.
want to talk about the light manufacturing piece of this before you go? So do you want to just?
No, that's the next thing.
That's, yeah.
Move that we dismiss number 3 of Brian Degnan's request so that he can come back later. So now you got a motion.
Dismiss without prejudice.
Dismiss without prejudice, number 3 of Brian's request.
It's the sign on the.
And that's
Yeah.
that's the sign.
All right. Do you have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. All opposed? I have no votes from 2 of my members. Are we gonna,
I had a couple more questions about the sign. Now, he's gonna put sign in. Is there anything about the lighting of the sign?
That
We're
was all
not-
covered by the planning board.
he doesn't want it he doesn't want us to decide the issue right now. He's asked to withdraw that portion of his application.
So we
And the
don't
motion-
care about the lighting.
No, he'll come back later
We're
with an
not discussing
application
it
about the
now.
sign. That makes sense?
But we're gonna let him put it up and he can put a 20-foot sign in. Wait, don't say no right away. Till we talk. He's gonna put up a sign. He's gonna have lighting for the sign. And if he goes ahead and does his work, as he said, he wants to open up beginning of May. He's gonna put up the sign. I just don't want him to have lighting and then all of a sudden, like it was with Jake's, where everybody was running around screaming and yelling about the signage on Jake's and about the signage on the front of the restaurant, 56 Main or whatever it is.
So
I think it's important that he has a clear understanding of what he's going to do if he's going to put his sign up,
he's gonna put a sign on the front of the
but
building,
he's going to light it, right?
and that's all covered in the ordinance, and it's not unclear.
Yeah.
Madeline, would you let me
Also,
talk?
the lights, so the lights predate zoning on that building, and all they were updated to not be scary.
Yeah, if you're not adding any additional.
No, they were just down, like, they went from being this way, like, what does one call them? Like, straight down, to being, against, so this is the building, this way. Because I like that better.
Yeah,
so
it's like
it-
glary.
It was just, because that way you're not lighting the street, so.
So the point is, he's asking us for permission to put a sign on the back of the building, not the front. He has permission to do that. It's in the ordinance. That's all covered.
So we don't have to worry about lighting. So he can light it any way he wants to.
Within the specifications in the ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have a book, so.
And yeah, he'll have to come through me for a sign permit. All
Yeah.
signage is supposed to be permitted through the land use office.
And they do have that stuff laid out.
Yeah, I just don't want him to have the sign up and the lighting and then have to change it. I think it's important that he has that direction. So if it's all laid out, fine. I don't have a book. I don't know what it is.
If he wasn't aware of it before now, he is now, thanks to you, that he needs to think about that.
Can I get clarification on the vote? And is it everyone at the table is?
Yeah, I've
Yeah, do I get to vote?
Yes. We're voting, so the motion before you is, shall we dismiss point 3 of the application, which is a request to have a sign on the back of the building without prejudice? So that he can come back later with the same request with more information. That is the point of it. All in favor?
Yeah.
I was an I earlier.
Okay. So we have 6-0,
What do we do about, you seated Bob in my
Right, that's
place?
my.
not in your
question.
place.
Because Susan's here.
That's Mike.
Well, that makes 6 of us.
I'm okay with that.
Oh, okay.
Further clarification.
Yes,
So because Susan has arrived now, is Bob still seated as a voting member?
I'll be more than happy to leave, man.
I just don't know if it's,
I don't care.
We can't have both 6. It has to be 5-0 or 5, 3 to
it's
2.
5-0.
Yes.
You two will have to share a vote.
I have to agree with you?
No. I know
Okay.
you will, but that's okay.
All right,
Okay, so we are back to the first two items.
right. So when you are ready,
I'm ready.
no. When you're ready after this meeting, at some point in the future, like next meeting, you could send somebody to represent you or just send an email.
Okay.
You know, something that says, here's the sign I want to put on the back. Is this okay?
Yeah,
You don't have to wait until May.
okay, so I don't have to be, I'll send somebody.
Yeah.
As long as I don't have to. I usually try to deal with the things directly with my properties, but I can send somebody.
Yeah. We understand that, but we've heard you. We know roughly what you want. As long as you give us the details, we can discuss it.
Sounds great.
All right. Okay, so the next issue is,
So, in running a brewery, there's the first two things on there. There are two issues. One is wholesaling. So the planning board gave me, approval for wholesaling and then called me and said they actually can't do that.
we have to do that.
You have to do that.
Right.
Right, that was, and the second thing that has come up in the discussion of wholesaling is, if you are, wholesaling is related to basically the selling of an item.
You want light industry approved also,
So we can put the stuff into and then sell it.
and that's your insurance company wants that.
And the insurance company is like, that's what they say one does.
He's in the CB district though, right?
Yes.
I don't think industry is listed as one of the uses in there, even by special exception. You have to make a special exception,
Somebody direct me.
so page,
It's gonna be a brewery and people can go there and drink beer?
A tasting room. So the answer is, we have to be very careful what I say here, because this is governed by state law. So is a brewery where one can go and drink beer, but it's mostly a tasting room as per state law. So,
So they can't drink a lot of beer.
I actually,
Only in Dixie cups.
I actually don't know. There is something where you can have like one glass unless you buy some food and then you can have two glasses. I'm paraphrasing what I heard, the licensor. Now, I can't. So it is not, it is not, from my understanding, it's not like,
So it's not a bar.
no, and it's not gonna be open to every,
That's the point, right? It's,
Yeah.
it can't be a
Yeah.
bar.
Are you gonna sell growlers?
I have no idea.
Possibly.
Cause that would be.
but he's not gonna sell. He's
If
just gonna
you're
have a building.
wholesaling the beer, that means someone's gonna come in
You
a
can-
truck and get a whole bunch.
Not
Are
necessarily.
people gonna be allowed to like buy a
Yes,
six pack?
it's the buy the six pack is wholesale.
Well, see, what you're asking us for is permission to run a wholesale business. That's what you're asking us permission for. And if
Yeah,
we,
so that's provision of the special exceptions section of our ordinance. It's right in there for CB. It does require a wholesale business, and wholesaling is actually selling it to distribution. In the case of alcohol, it has to go through what they call a 3-tier system, which is,
so people coming in off the street and buying a 6-pack is not wholesale.
that's not wholesale, it's resale.
Yeah, sorry, retail.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to do with ultimately, the people who buy this beer are, you know.
So retail's okay.
No,
No, retail's not okay.
wait, is that?
Retail's okay for him, absolutely. That's part of the site plan that they got. So the state of New Hampshire in their
But-
infinite wisdom has basically changed their law. It used to be you could only brew it and sell it to a distributor who sold it to a retailer who sold it to you. That was what they call the 3-tier system.
Right,
But as these small little breweries started popping up, like Optimistic, what we would refer to as a micro or even a
Right.
nano brewery, they made in state law, some cutouts to let you, they can actually self-distribute. These companies these smaller breweries, they actually
Okay.
drive around with a van, go to the co-op in Hanover and say, here's your 10 cases of beer to sell for us, you know? So they can do that with the state of New Hampshire license. They can actually also sample at the brewery. You'd be able to walk in there and have here, try this beer. They can do that. They can also sell you a 6-pack or a 4-pack. That's what it is now with cans. They'll sell you that. So their liquor license from the state of New Hampshire gives them a lot of flexibility, which is cool. It's what we want, to be able to have
right,
all these
right,
neat little
right.
breweries. So the planning board has given him this. He's asking for, because as we discovered in the planning board, the wholesale business is a special exception in page
We know,
33.
so we're not talking about retail, we're talking about a specific aspect of their business, which will fall under the wholesale regulation. So are they allowed to, as Susan, I think it was Susan asked, can they have trucks come in, pick up stuff and deliver it somewhere else to be sold by
Yeah.
by a retailer?
So the way Rob does it. So do you need a motion on the table to do this?
Yes,
Yeah, to approve the special exception.
we need a
Okay.
motion to approve the special exception for wholesale business.
All right, move to approve the special exception for a wholesale business for Brian, as per Brian Degnan's request. Will that do it?
That's beautiful. Thank you for moving us along, Madam Vice Chair.
Bill, second.
Bill seconded it.
All right, discussion?
Should we go over the 4 points?
Yes, let's
Yes,
go
well,
through the.
maybe exactly, yes, also the.
Shall I read these out loud? Would that be good?
Yeah.
All right, there's
Yes.
4 of these. The proposed site is found to be an appropriate location for such use. Do we all think it is?
I think so.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
I think so.
No,
too.
can I ask some questions?
We've started the criteria thingy. Is that okay? Do you mind if we go through those?
We're gonna have a period where we could have ask questions?
Yeah.
Let me now or later?
I'm balking at being interrupted and having my flow broken. That's what's troubling me. Would everybody like to stop considering the questions and just ask
Through
frequent
them so we
questions?
know, we can plan what we're gonna ask.
No, I'd like to hear what the zoning ordinance says, because I have not read it.
Okay, let me just read these out. And then if you have questions that will help you decide whether or not these criterion are met, then yeah, we should ask those.
I have a question.
Can you hold your question?
Oh, I thought you wanted to do them as we went through each of these.
No,
Okay.
I'm gonna read them all out.
That's good.
The proposed site is found to be an appropriate location for such a use. The proposed use will not adversely affect property values or improvements in the adjacent area. Appropriate and adequate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. The proposed use will comply with the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located. So if those four are found to be true, we must grant this special exception request. That's the difference between this and variances, by the way. Okay, does anybody have questions?
No.
Daniel?
My question is about, anticipated volume of traffic, from the wholesale business. Do you have trucks coming in, picking up large quantities? Is there going to be a distribution system for the business that they have their own trucks?
Okay, so
Or will they use
it's a
distributors?
5
It's small bill.
barrel. This is not a lot.
Okay,
This is basically involves, or I'm going to kind of speaking, of things I don't know a lot about, but the amount of beer that produced is more like van size, not like Cisco truck size that serves 56 across the street. So it's not, I mean, it doesn't seem like they produce a lot. They're not trying to scale up significantly because it's one guy like brewing.
I think the size of the facility and the property around it that's available for purchase and expansion would limit the amount of distribution they can do. I don't think they can make a lot of beer there.
Well, and there's a lot of parking there too. I mean, there's a parking lot across from 56, and there's the parking lot on the other end of the building. And some of those parking places belong to the building, don't they?
Yes.
So vans can get off the street to
They-
pick up their load and back. They won't be blocking the street because of the configuration of the
Yeah, I would not expect it to be
parking lot.
any more, of an, like an impediment than that you have with like the restaurant that's there, right?
Or the laundromat.
Hmm?
Or the laundromat.
I mean,
The former lot.
the former.
Yeah, formal lot, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's not, yeah, it's just like,
there's gonna be a couple of vans. There's
it's just,
plenty of
it's,
room.
yeah, I mean, the building is, oh my gosh. So
Is that
it's not-
door that opens to the parking lot, is that gonna be the main door into the brewery, or is it gonna be on the street?
the main one is there's currently a double door that will be replaced to be. It just needs to be replaced. There's like one on the side. That is where you'd probably move things in and out. And then there's a walkway over to the parking lot. In the discussion we have, that is what made the most sense, because you want the people who are coming off the trail to like the door right there, that's where they're gonna go. So basically, the production door is going to be, if you're looking from the street at the former laundry, the left side has a double door, and then in the middle you have the 2 single doors will be people. And then the one on the left will be product.
You gotta remember, this isn't a bar. A bar would create much more traffic. This is a brewery with a tasting room, and they're gonna come in, they're gonna have however you're gonna serve the tasting, and they're gonna buy a 6-pack, and they're gonna leave. So they're not gonna hang around. I don't imagine you're gonna let them taste a quart of beer while they're sitting there guzzling.
He's not gonna be doing the.
Off the rail trail into the ditch.
And the other thing is, I would not, it seems to me as a guy who walks on the rail trail and I bring tires to the dump and I also pick it up. Unless you're drinking Natty Light, you are not throwing stuff into the ditch, as far as I can tell. So it seems to be a different kind of clientele.
let me see if I can focus the discussion a little bit. I see your point in raising these,
Yeah, no.
asking these
I just wanna
questions.
say, Brian, thank you. You answered my question.
they're specifically, I mean, it goes right to this. Is it gonna affect the surrounding area? I don't think it will.
No,
Do we think this is an appropriate facility for this use?
for that place, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, I
think
think
so,
so.
yeah.
It's.
And we need
enhanced.
another business downtown.
Yep.
Badly, we need businesses downtown.
All right, will this use adversely affect property values or improvements in the adjacent area?
It'll increase
I
the
I
property.
don't
think
think
it-
so, yeah.
Are there appropriate and adequate facilities for the proper operation of the proposed use?
Sure.
I don't know what's appropriate.
So it is the water, the part of the value of that location is the amount of water that's required.
So it can supply,
So yeah, you have to clean out I wish he was here, he knows a lot, the barrels, and then what you do actually with the waste is, which is kind of interesting to me, pig farmers love it. Like
Yeah.
every time, all the mash,
Yeah.
so there's actually very little issues, but they were really, after looking at, 7 sites in the Upper Valley, this was the one that was their favorite.
because of the water supply. to the
But just
farm.
all the stuff together
Okay.
between the rail trail and Enfield and the fact it has tall ceilings. The ceilings are 14, it's
Right.
tall, but it's a single floor and it's 14 feet to the first.
Okay,
Whatever,
Will-
beam.
will the use comply with the applicable regulations in the CB district?
Yes.
Well, yeah,
I think so too. Do you so swear?
I mean, I believe so.
Does anybody have those regulations in front of them? Is there something that we're not missing?
So wholesale business is clearly listed.
Okay.
Let's see.
Recreational facilities, commercial, shall I read these out loud? The CB district, we can have a wholesale business, daycare centers, recreational facilities, commercial recreational facilities, parking as described in section 409.13, wireless towers, multifamily dwellings, aircraft landing strips, there you go.
in the
Roof,
parking lot.
roof and ground mounted community net metered solar arrays and kennels.
So I know we're talking about the wholesaling aspect right now, but please note to Bill's point earlier, what's not listed in there is light manufacturing. So when we get to that,
Right.
keep that in mind when we talk about that.
Yeah,
We're gonna talk about that separately.
I think it's probably fair to say that to remind all of us that whatever we decide goes with the property
Yes,
and not with the single business. It goes with the property.
right.
It
So if you
lasts.
have business there could wholesale Beanie Babies.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, if we give them a wholesale special
Yeah.
exception. I'm not sure that's the case with special exceptions, but it
I
might be.
wanted to ask about that, how that worked.
I know it's true with variances.
Rob,
What's the question?
Do special exceptions run with the land like a variance does? Okay.
do it forever.
Like Guinness.
And if you don't exercise your special exception, within 2 years, it actually expires.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. What if they can't find a buyer for the mash? Where does that get stored?
Oh, I haven't a clue.
No problem. I know lots of farmers.
Yeah,
that-
that one wasn't a concern. A bigger concern, by the way, was dealing with the garbage, and that has been addressed by basically reaching out to the other businesses that have dumpsters and it's like, hey, we will just pay, like, because you pay so many times, and it's like basically by taking over their payments and having the dumpsters go out more, we have places to put the garbage. Because one of the reasons I always had a problem with that location is due to the rail trail and its proximity, it's a terrible place to have a garbage can, like a
Yeah,
dumpster.
yeah.
So, it's like, that's the worst part about the building. The building is great outside of that for location, so.
All right, any
Well,
further
when you've
questions?
got a farm, you can take care of the mash.
All right, the motion before you is shall we approve? Shall we approve Brian Degnan and Hoptastics,
Optimistic.
Optimistics?
Oh, competitor. Down the street.
Application for a special exception so that they may be allowed to run a wholesale business in the CB district.
We have a motion on the table, don't we?
Yeah, I'm restating the motion before.
Yeah, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 5-0. On the matter of light industry,
Light manufacturing or light industry.
Light manufacturing.
light manufacturing, I don't believe we have that language in our ordinance.
We do not, and it's also interesting to note that manufacturing and processing facilities is in the CI district special exception list.
But not in the CB.
Correct. So is this a variance or is this a special exception?
This would have to be a variance. Because it's not listed as a use in the special exceptions, in the list of special exceptions. This would have to be variance. I cannot imagine how you could justify us granting you a variance to satisfy your insurance company's requirement.
Well, it's the Bow setup. It's, for me, it was insurance, but the other thing is they were set up in Bow. They also said that's where they have another one. That was a variance that the state said they must get to. So it's from two different sides. Now, I don't actually, so there seems to be other things. I am not a lawyer on this, but this is something they had to get for Bow. And then when I asked my insurance company, they said that is what happened. So their insurance is different from my insurance as a landlord who's facilitating this. They want to make sure that they know and that they basically whatever, because of zoning, whatever is going on is actually an approved activity. So from looking in from the town, looking at it, the wholesale is important. So looking at it from like what is actually happening, like I don't actually care if they sell something. I care about my liability and what the town thinks and what the state thinks for light manufacturing. So that is the origin of this, besides that. So I heard it twice. One was from Bow, but when they got theirs approved, they approved the light manufacturing. And so then part of it after that is the insurance said that light manufacturing is what New Hampshire does when you bottle something. So I just expected this. Now, if you say you don't need it, I can bring it back to something else.
I'm not saying you don't need it. I'm saying that our ordinance doesn't have that language in it.
So down the street was a business called Erigo, which was basically a light industry. What, did they have an exception or did they just fly under the radar and pretend they were?
What was the light? I thought it was an engineering. firm.
Engineering firm with like a Skunk Works R&D shop in the back.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
think they flew under the radar.
okay.
I think in this case,
I think what I could offer,
can I finish my
sorry,
thought?
sure, go ahead.
And I'll be brief because I want to hear what you have to say.
Yep.
I'd like to hear what Bo said. I'd like to hear what the state says. I'm aware that you're maybe not real clear on all the language and details. So if we were to write tonight a variance approval for bottling and light industry, but your people wanted to hear light manufacturing, that would be a problem. So we need that terminology nailed down.
If you write it for bottling, like the actual task, at least from my side, I like because what they're doing is they're bottling and they're putting in kegs. Those are the two things. One's the aluminum.
Yeah.
And what's it? That
I
would.
think that
would
going with
satisfy.
bottling and putting in cans is way too specific. I think you have to go back to light manufacturing. Because it's happening in other places too.
What Mr. Holmquist is doing right next door.
I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry.
So-
Mr. Holmquist is doing it right next door. He's manufacturing furniture.
Yeah,
Does he have a,
No, he was there way before I think we ever had.
so here's what I'm thinking about. I don't want to grant a variance for light industrial for what we have in our variance is manufacturing and industrial. Yes, that's the only language we have. What you found in the CI district. I don't want to accidentally grant that permission in this district. Instead, what I'd rather do is grant a very specific variance with the condition written into the approval letter that says, and this is what we'll discuss, is whether we should do this or not, for bottling. Light industry for bottling or light manufacturing for bottling, and we'll give you the language you need, but let's make sure that we have the language you want. And so then the question I'd ask the board is, do you want to consider debating that variance. Do you think that's got legs? Can we find, I think the first four criteria, for the first 3 or 4 criteria are met. I don't think there's any problem with whether this would be, this would be in the spirit of the ordinance. It wouldn't degrade the property values, et cetera, et cetera. I think the only problem I'll have trouble legally is the hardship. And I'm kind of hanging on the idea that there's no language for this in our variant, in our ordinance that would permit it. And his insurance company and the state liquor board require this language in order to approve the running of the business.
Does the liquor board require that language?
Is it the liquor board?
Bo required it. But so so they have, their license has 2 sites. And so what I modeled this off of was the things that were approved from the zoning board at Bo.
So Bo may have that in their ordinance.
And then when I
You have the answers to this?
Well, I was just gonna offer, 'cause this comes up fairly frequently with other types of businesses that are licensed. They reach out to me and they say, dear Mr. Taylor, you're the land use or zoning administrator for the town of Enfield. Can this business do what it wants to do that it has described to us? And I can send them a letter from the town on town letterhead that says, yes, Optimistic or Brian Degner, whoever we need to, has, been granted all of the necessary permits and approvals required by the town of Enfield. I don't know what you guys think about that. I've done that for other businesses that are operating in town right now.
I think
And have gone
yeah.
through site plan and zoning and,
I mean, from my point of view, I'd be fine with that. Cause I just for me, it's 2 separate things. Like I want to facilitate this, but I also don't want to have the town sue me for.
planning board granted an approval for site plan for a brewery.
Well,
The manufacturing thing is what bothers me. If
Yes.
it goes with the land.
Yeah,
I'm the administrator though, and I would say, and this is going against what you're saying. The brewing of beer is not manufacturing, you're making food. This is a consumable item.
yeah.
That's right in there. Food, absolutely.
That doesn't allow you to package.
Interesting. You've given them the wholesale approval already.
Yeah.
I agree with the things you say about the property, because what's to keep somebody from coming in and making firecrackers there, or whatever,
That's
so
gonna be
we'd
me.
either have to write.
I'm gonna rule, that's not,
Growing a
Right.
brand.
I do have some power. I mean, I've been granted power by the state of New Hampshire to do this
Right.
kind of stuff,
Yeah.
interpreting what we've got here. And as long as you guys are cool with it, and I think planning board's very cool with it, I'm cool with it. I do have decisions to make that people can say, Rob, your decision is wrong. I'm gonna appeal it and I'll challenge you. And you guys are the ones that would hear the appeal.
Let me tell you what the
somebody-
chair thinks.
Yeah.
If you come to this board and if you tell us zoning admitted, if you basically tell him you have to get a variance for this, he is in effect appealing your decision to us.
Yeah.
Which he's done. And we're on public record now. We can't be cool with it, so to speak. We have to treat it as a legal matter.
Right.
If, on the other hand, you're telling us that you were wrong and he doesn't actually need a variance, that this can be considered in a different light, and your applicant is happy with your solution, and the board does not have a matter to consider, that's a different situation.
But not with the language. I don't understand the insurance company requiring specific language.
I don't-
I'm very confused. I've run a lot of businesses and I've never had an insurance company.
It has to do with what I consider the egregious zoning of New England, where you have to ask permission for everything. This is why it's hardy investment.
But, what's the insurance case for that?
They want to just make sure that they know what they're covering.
So again, we don't care that it's the insurance company that's asking for this. We have an applicant in front of us who's asking for a variance.
Well,
If Rob says this is fine, and you can write that down, and that covers, I'd be happy with that, because then I can say, this is officially what's happening, this is what's approved, and that way it looks like there's nothing slimy, because there isn't.
I'm feeling like there's something slimy.
Well, should we,
I don't think there's anything slimy. And
You just came to us and you have an application in front of us, and now a town official, town employee is gonna say, no, don't worry about that. Here's this instead. I didn't feel right about that.
You don't feel right about
I
that?
do not.
I agree with you. Are you ready for that?
So the matter is before us, so we have to dispose of it.
You're only half, the other half.
Come on, guys. Procedural matter. Wait, just wait. I know it's hard. I know you want to say, I know it's hard. Just, this is a procedural matter. The matter is before us already.
Correct.
We have to dispose of it. We can dispose of it with a motion and a vote. And we can move to dismiss without prejudice, or we can move to deny the variance request. Either way is going to satisfy this situation. It would be really hard to approve this as a variance request. I just don't see it getting past the hardship test. I think that these two have worked out a solution, which I wish they had done beforehand, so that we wouldn't have this matter before us. So he can write a letter and approve them. That's totally between them. But our applicant could say to us, I'd like to withdraw that portion of my application. We could let it go. But the only matter before us is we have to dispose of the matter because it's on the board. It's on the table. Do you have more to say?
Yeah, I was gonna suggest a kind of a compromise where if we decided to grant the variance, the condition would be that Rob would write the letter.
That's a possibility. I just don't see I don't see. a
But
variance getting-
we haven't even got a motion on the table for this, so we.
Can I just withdraw this and
That's what I was gonna say.
I'd like to
Thank you.
withdraw this.
You can do that.
I have
The board-
waited for you to get through your.
Can I have a motion to dismiss without prejudice the
Sure,
application
so
for variance
moved.
for
To
light industrial?
dismiss without prejudice Brian's request for a variance for light manufacturing.
Seconded.
Do you want to get comfortable with it?
I'm not gonna get comfortable with it and I won't vote for it.
Just,
We
you
don't-
won't vote for him to just dismiss
Go
it?
back and read the minutes of this. It's just, this is not the way it's supposed to work.
I agree. It should not have come to us, but it did, so we have to
But you
dispose
won't
of it one
vote
way
in
or.
favor of having him just completely withdraw this?
Not at this point. no.
So haven't
What do
we
you think
agreed
we ought to
it should
do?
come to us? Isn't that what we agreed?
That's what I believe.
So isn't that what the motion, I mean,
No, we need to know what Dan thinks we should do.
Yeah, what's your objection to
think
handling it this way?
We've identified that this is not what he came in with, which was a what the hell would we call it? Special exception. That this particular issue should be a variance.
Yeah.
And I think now that a letter can be written, I think the issue still exists. It's still light manufacturing. We know what's going on in that building. We know that it's contrary to our zoning. And let me finish, please.
No, go ahead.
And
just-
we can't now
I
just
see your point.
turn away and say, it's not happening. That's
Yeah, but if he withdrew it, we don't have a choice.
He can withdraw it. I don't have to vote to approve that. And you can,
You're
you'll be
absolutely
4-1. You'll be 4-1, it's fine. Don't worry with me. I want in the record, please, however, that
I think I understand your objection. I want to stop you for just a second.
Can we,
I think what we heard is that our zoning administrator, not being creepy or slimy or anything.
I did not call Rob.
Of course not. Of course not. I'm just making sure that we're clear.
Yeah.
They're not trying to sneak around the back door about this issue. I think what he's telling us is that the production of food for distribution is not a light industrial activity. It's not a light manufacturing activity, and that he was wrong to think that this needs light manufacturing or light industrial. That he can approve it as a food production.
Further, if he withdraws, you don't have to vote on it. If he's withdrawn that application, which he just said he was willing to do,
All right.
it's done.
Because I have the one that I need.
So can you show me where it says that this is food production? And that's allowed.
J.
Yay. Retail stores, shopping centers, and service establishments, including banks, restaurants, and auto service stations.
Restaurant is food service.
Yeah, it's
They're gonna have food there. Absolutely. They have to have it for their liquor license.
just for history, Mike, can we ask Rob to put his letter
In the file.
in tonight's minutes?
Yeah.
Attach a letter to tonight's minutes?
All right, if you're gonna withdraw the application, then I think the chair can just say, okay, thank you for your time. You'll get a letter for the one motion we approved, which is your wholesale business special exception. You'll have to talk to the zoning administrator about a letter covering your other needs. And we ask that the zoning administrator put that letter in our file as well.
That's much better. But in the file, that's a much better way to put it.
Okay.
Will do.
Do you still want to register on record?
No, he was withdrawn. Disappointed in the process, but no. I'm good.
Yeah, sorry. So,
Thanks for that.
thank you. I hope to never see any of you again.
You can bring us some beer in May.
Yes, I will.
Well, you're gonna come back with the sign, right, Brian?
Very likely not. We'll just put it in the front because it's just like, the only place I ever lived with zoning is here. And it's by far the worst place to do business, to do anything, especially now that I know I can land my helicopter, someplace downtown if I built myself a helicopter pad. So that is hilarious. That's in there.
You do need a special exception.
I could apply for that. So,
Good.
as long as-
Okay, shall we move on to the minutes?
Yes. I have a correction on line 51. Because the sentence isn't finished. It says the current building footprint is.
Minute.
53.
Page 2 of 8.
It's on page 2 and it's line 51.
Two.
It says the proposed building footprint would be 1,050 square feet. The current building footprint is blank.
Oh,
Literally
I
blank.
think it said 752 somewhere else. Existing size, findings of fact, 792 square feet.
Okay, so there. And then the other thing I found is a line 115, okay, should be capital letters.
Can you give me the line number again?
That's 115.
Thank you.
Well, there's one in 115, there's an okay. Just do a global replace of the okay.
Yeah, and, on page 7 and line 269 and 270. Members agreed they did not think Mr. St. Martin understood the board's reasoning for saying not, that an added deck would increase the building footprint which travels with the land. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I think what we said, that we said for saying no, not, and what we said was an added deck would increase the building footprint, which remains with the land instead of travels.
Yeah, so not should be no, and will.
I'm sorry, I got lost.
With-
Where-
270.
Thank you.
That's all I have, because Whitney, you're perfect.
I have a few things.
So I've changed it to understood the board's reasoning for saying no. That an added deck would increase the building footprint, which travels with
I would take out travels, I would say remains.
remains.
Or just strike that parenthetical clause. That an added deck would increase the building footprint.
Period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone's okay with that?
Are you ready for
Yeah.
something else? On line 23, the Chandlers is plural, so the apostrophe comes after the S. On line 80,
Wait a minute.
the Chandlers are plural.
Oh, they are?
If
Oh,
that's
okay.
true,
Is their name Chandlers?
No, their name is Chandler. So there's two of them, it's Chandlers, so the apostrophe comes after the S.
I could do a find
I
and
second
replace too if it's
Whatever. Okay.
Remember that from fourth grade. Okay, our not line 80.
Mhm.
Said should not be capitalized, said Miss Love, Miss Love.
Unless her name is Lovely Said, in which case you're missing a word. The verb.
Then in line number 393, I'm not sure that a butter needs to be capitalized. Capitalize it when it's somebody's professional title.
Was it?
Oh, 93. I was-
93.
Oh, just 93.
I was looking for 393 and there isn't one.
No, I meant go to
Oh,
93.
yeah, a butter, yeah.
The application includes letters from a butter, yeah, right. I don't think a butter is a title.
No,
No.
no, we're not German, where we capitalize everything.
Yeah.
And that's as far as I had time to go over it. I'm sorry, guys.
I have a note. Take care not to indicate that we voted on any of the criteria. I don't think you have here, but
Is that just a note for me or a note that you want on the record for this minute?
no, just for you. We are advised not to vote on the individual criteria. Because if you do that.
Well, we didn't, we just said we agreed.
Yes, there are notes about what we thought, and I think that's okay.
What's the consequence of voting on the individual criteria?
Get to a situation where you cannot approve or deny the you cannot approve the criteria. You can get into a situation where it's not possible to approve that variance. Did I say criteria?
So you can't
Here.
vote on the individual
It's
criteria,
okay.
because if you said no, 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 but then you approve, that would be.
Right.
Got it.
It seems like that would be a good thing to do, to take the criteria one at a time and vote on whether each one of them meets, but the.
Right, and they say the majority are okay, therefore it's okay, but that's not.
Yeah, the two seminars I've attended, that's come up both times, and the presenters and experts have said, do not do that. And I didn't fully understand the reasoning, just, I want you to be aware of that.
I remember that to me. Yep. You guys want to vote on these?
Oh, yeah.
Move and second and
I
vote.
move to adopt the minutes from the meeting of September, August as corrected.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Um,
Aye. Opposed? Right, Rob, you have something for us?
I do. I wanted, I think you've got yours and I think you've got yours. There's 4 full sets for the thing for next month that we continued from tonight. The
And they're
30 farms.
enormous,
big sets.
and I don't understand.
Rob, has that been edited to include the other ponds that were left off on the copy that we received previously?
These are exactly the same as whatever you've got previously. Yeah.
So this came up at the Conservation Commission. They talk about, well, maybe we should be talking about this now.
Yeah. I'd wait. Take a set. Any further clarification? You'll
I
get it.
recommend
I'd like to hear what
listening,
you have to say as a private citizen after the meeting.
Okay.
listen
This
to,
doesn't pertain to.
it's on
here.
YouTube. I listened to it on YouTube, the hearing on YouTube,
Oh, there's a good idea.
which was very helpful.
That'll keep us both out of.
Yeah.
Well,
Explain yourself.
I called Rob and asked
All right,
him
we're
if there's a
adjourned.
difference between seasonal and
8:19.
regular wetlands, and he said no.
One involves an effective